Welcome everybody to this tutorial. We're going to kind of cover the key components of Deepvue, key features, and how to really get started very quickly and have kind of your ideal trading dashboard. So when you first start Deepvue, you'll probably have something that looks something like this. You've got a chart on the right hand side, your data columns here. You can open this all the way. You'll see more data columns. You can always bring the chart back up by clicking here. And just for some navigation, here on the left hand side is your navigation menu. You can open it up to see the names if you'd like to, but we've got the dashboard module, the screener module, the watchlist module, the alerts module, and then down here the education tab, your account, and then the help module. I do want to really focus on the help module just very briefly because this is where you can see our roadmap for Deepvue, vote on different features, request features. We definitely want to incorporate your ideas into the platform. So please, if you have any good ideas, go ahead and check this out, see if it's already on here, and if not, request a feature. You can also, of course, always contact us if you have a question. We're happy to answer that. Any question you have about Deepvue, getting started, data points, filters, whatever, we're happy to help you guys out with that. And if you do see a bug in the platform, please go ahead and report that, and we'll go ahead and get that fixed as soon as possible. You can also access the knowledge base where there's a lot of educational articles on indicators, data points. This should be kind of the first place you look if you have a question about the platform. With that said, let's go back to the screener module here. This is kind of where we'll start. Just kind of navigationally over here on the left-hand side, you have your data columns. This is fully customizable with what data you want to see here. You kind of can tailor that to your own specific process. And you can basically see all that data for all the stocks that show up on a particular screen. To load a screen, what you want to do, and we'll X this out to start from scratch, is you want to click this drop-down menu, and then you can either navigate through any screens that you create on your own, or you can go over here to this tab, Screener Presets, to see the dozens and dozens of preset screens that we've made available for you guys. If you really want to quickly get started and just have a great universe of stocks efficient, I would highly recommend going over to Screener Presets, Deepvue, and then go over to the Deepvue Leaders screen. If you don't have much time to screen the markets, you just want to be focused on growth type names, strong relative strength stocks, Deepvue Leaders is a great place to start. I'd also recommend the Liquid Leaders screen, especially if you're more of a someone who's more doing their routine on the weekends, they work full time. This will give you help you stay focused on high relative strength, highly liquid names with more kind of institutional backing. So this is how you access our presets. We also have dozens and dozens of top trader presets. Kathy Donnelly, Yves Bobach, Matt Caruso, Oliver Kell, Dr. Wish, Mark Minervini, Stan Weinstein, of course. We've got many screens that look for what they look for in the market. So if you want to trade like them, you can go ahead and take a look at all these screens. And likely, whether you're a swing or position trader, there's going to be screens here that match exactly what you're looking for. You can also take a look at a lot of our technical screens. We've created a lot of presets here for you, so you can use these both as a starting point, to build your own screens, or just kind of use them natively and plug and play as you would like to. Here is, I do want to highlight the pre and post market screens. This helps you identify market gaps, positive side and also to the negative sign as well. And you can also just go ahead and load different markets, S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, Dow Jones, the Russell 2000, and tab through those different stocks. But again, if you just kind of want to start with one screen, and this is the one I'm probably running, 75% of the time, I think the Deepvue Leader screen is a really good place to start. So we'll come back to the data columns in just a minute. But if we open this up, you've of course got the chart here. But if you want to see a stock specific data point, so say we're on Upwork and you want to learn more about the company, you've got your data columns here, but this gives you more data on a lot of different stocks all at once instead of kind of more in-depth data. So in order to fulfill that, what you want to do is navigate up here to the right and click this to open your data panel. This is stock specific information. So we've got the industry, we've got the market cap, group rank, and we can hide this data point. We'll come back to that in just a second. Absolute strength rating, dollar volume, earnings growth, sales growth, all of this is in your data panel. So your data panel is stock specific to the stock that you're looking at the chart of. And then the data column set is more for seeing a lot of data on a lot of different stocks. And you can go ahead and click those headers and sort by that, as we'll get to in just a second. And let me see if there's any questions right here so far. Rita asked, can you share a data panel? Great question. So I actually used my preset here. So on your end, you can go ahead and load any of the presets that we have by clicking this drop-down menu, going over to data panel presets. And then the one that I'm currently using and the one that I use is if you go over to top traders and you go over to Richard Moglen main panel, this is the one that I have loaded right now. And we'll be adding more of these for different methodologies like Stan Weinstein, Mark Minervini, Oliver Kell, kind of tailored to the data points that they like to look at when they're analyzing a specific stock. But of course, you can go ahead and create your own data panels as you would like to. You can really get customizable with this and really choose whatever data points you want to add. And in order to add a data point, what you want to do is click the gear icon. And then you can search for different data points here. So if we search EPS, this brings up all the EPS data points that we have. You can also just go ahead and scroll through all the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of data points that we do have. And then when you have a data point that you'd like to add to a group, you basically want to click in that group and then basically check that off. You can see last was added here. You can also drag and drop to reorganize that group. And you can always exit out just like that. And you can also rename these categories, whatever you'd like to. So again, this is really fully customizable if you'd like to do that. But if you just want a plug and play option, I think my data panel preset is a really good place to start. So with that said, anything else on the data panel that I want to mention? I do have the industry data point here, and I like to leave the drop down open, which basically plots and charts, well, not charts, but it shows a table of the top 10 stocks within this industry. And it has the relative strength rating. It has the RMV, which is the tightness rating. So very quickly, I can get a great glimpse at the other stocks within the same group as the stock I'm looking at. And this also gives you ideas. You can go ahead and click that and load these stocks. So if you see Upwork, you want to see that there are other sister stocks that are acting well as well. You can go ahead and play with that as you would like to. I also have ranks here for the group, the week, on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. And opening these up, you can see the group ranks or the industry ranks, whatever the rank is that you have, whether it's industry, some industry, on a 1 month basis, 1 day basis. You can open up that data point by clicking the drop down menu and see all the different industries or groups or sectors ranked, as well as the number of stocks in them. And say you open this up, you see software is ranked number 2 on a 1 month basis. It's been a leading stock. There's a way to identify rotation and what's been leading and where are the strongest groups and sectors. Say you want to go through all the software stocks, you can either click the name or the stocks there, and then you can easily just go ahead and spacebar through all the different software names. So there's a really helpful way to do top-down analysis, identify the leading groups and sectors, and then get more in depth into the strongest names within that particular software group. And of course, you can open this up. I'll clear my sorting. I can sort by absolute strength 1 month, and then right here, and then I've noticed that software is ranked number 2, so it's a leading group. And then I've ranked by absolute strength rating. So within the software group, I'm now seeing the strongest stocks within that group. So there's a really quick way to do your routines, save yourself time, and identify on those strongest stocks within the strongest group. So that's the data panel. I also want to highlight the stats table, which houses the earnings and sales growth data. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Actually, it's a little hard to see on your guys' end, but basically it houses the historical data. And let me move this zoom toolbar. This houses the historical data on a quarterly or annual basis. If you click this gear icon, you can switch between those, as well as the number of quarters that you see. And you can hover over any quarter to see the earnings surprise, what the estimate was, what the report was. And you can see that we highlight accelerating trends where growth is accelerating. It's increasing each quarter for at least 3 quarters. We highlight that with a blue bar underneath. And if there's a deceleration trend, we highlight that in red. So that's what those colors mean if you do see that in your Deepvue. So let's see if there's any decelerating trends. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but here's MSTR, and you can see the fundamentals very easily. Hover over things to get more detail, and over here, past this barrier, you can see the estimates. So this is one of the great benefits of Deepvue, is that going out into the future, and let's bring up, let's not a crypto related name, let's bring up PLTR. So here's a decelerating trend because we're going from 42% to 38% to 34%. So even though there's growth, it's decelerating growth. And, you know, this is key to look out for. But anyway, a great thing about Deepvue is that you can see so many quarters going out to the future. We all know that stocks trade based on future expectations. So this is almost more important to look at. And if there's an arrow here, it means the estimate has been revised upwards. This is almost more important to look at than the previous historical growth, because that just tells you what's already happened. This tells you what's expected by analysts, and you know, this is what the funds are really looking out for. So what's great about Deepvue is you can analyze the chart, any data point you want in our database right there and then, as well as the earnings and sales all together in one quick snapshot. Focusing now on the chart, let's go ahead and get the relative strength line and some key moving averages on here. So in Deepvue, to add an indicator, what you want to do is go up to this icon here, click that. This brings up the search bar. We have our proprietary Deepvue ratings, classified by putting in DV in front. So if you want to go through all of those, you can type in DV and then all of those will show up. But you can also, of course, search for stuff like MACD, RSI, whatever you like to use. You can go ahead and search that. But let's go ahead and add the relative strength line here. There we go. And you can see nothing happened. And that's because my scaling is based on price action only, and it's adding the relative strength line over that. But basically what we want to do, and let me undo that to show what might happen on your screen, is if you add the relative strength line, and actually don't see, it's not causing the problem I want it to cause. That's funny. Relative strength line. So let's add it again. So it might be way down here or way up here because the relative strength line is just a ratio. The value of it could be very big, very small, and we basically want to only scale this chart based on the price action itself. So we want to basically go over here, hover over the relative strength line in the object tree here, click the three dots, and say move to new pane above. And that way we see the relative strength line above the chart just like we want. And then speaking of scaling, when it comes to the main chart, I do have some recommendations here. I want you guys to right click on your scale, select auto, and select scale price chart only. And this way, when you switch between time frames, nothing's getting squished. It's always kind of automatically basically scaling the price chart based on the price action you see from high to low here based on the historical data that you're looking at. Now we also want to add volume and say key moving averages. So let's go back to the indicators. Let's do volume just like that. And let's also move that to a new pane above or a new pane below. So again, you hover over the indicator, go over to the three dots, and then say move to new pane below. Now it's its own pane. That's kind of what we want. We want to kind of leave price action clean. And I want to also edit the settings a little bit. So in order to edit a indicator, what you want to do is hover over its name, go over to the gear icon, and then you'll have options for inputs, style, visibility. It all depends on the indicator, what you see here, but we'll go ahead and color based on the previous close. We'll make the falling volume black. We'll make the growing volume black as well. I like that monochrome look. You can, of course, adjust it to your own settings. And I like to switch it over to a histogram. And you can see it's really skinny now, but let's go ahead and go into the actual falling volume here, click that, and then my zoom tools are getting in the way, and then click this here to make it a little bit fatter, and do that same for the growing. And now it's a nice kind of histogram that's pretty precise to the price bar that you're actually looking at. And let's see here. If there's any questions here. Visibility, yeah, good question. So visibility if we go to that, it basically allows you to turn off and on an indicator based on the time frame that you choose over here. So if you don't want to show on a minute chart or a daily chart, you can turn off an indicator. Let's see here. I see some good questions about screening. We'll definitely get to that. Tight closes automatically. Not necessarily, but you can use RMV to identify that. And when it goes to 0, that's a good indicator. So we'll get to that in just a second, but let's add key moving averages since I know that's highly requested. So let's go over here, type in key moving averages. And then you can see this allows you to plot many moving averages at once. And again, we'll go over and hover over the indicator, click the gear icon, go over to inputs, and we'll go ahead and turn off the 10-day. We'll make this the 21 EMA. And we'll turn on the 50-day moving average and turn on the 200-day moving average. And now we've got moving averages right there on our chart. So already we've got a nice usable interface, nicely done. We've got the Deepvue Leaders, active. You can spacebar through, see the fundamental data, the chart data, all in one package. So you're pretty much rocking and ready to go here with Deepvue already. So that's pretty great. We do have chart templates here. So if you want to save a configuration that you're looking at, you like all these indicator setups, you can go up here and click Save Indicator Template. And we'll name this tutorial November 12th. And you can select Remember Symbol if you always want to bring up the same symbol when you bring up the template. But I usually select this one, Remember Interval, so it remembers a daily chart when I bring up this template. There we go. Now it's saved. So whatever changes you make, let's say we delete this accidentally or the relative strength line accidentally, we can always go back to this icon and find that template within this list, and you can favorite it so it shows up right here on the main bar itself. But you can always find that, click that, and then right away everything's loaded and working well. So that's a quick tip to make sure that you don't lose your settings and have to redo a lot of work. You can just go ahead and save that chart template in advance. All right, so far we've covered the chart setup, we've covered data panel, stats table. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the data column setting. So this is a really powerful part of Deepvue. These data columns basically allow you to sort a list or screen result based on any data point that you want to use in the Deepvue platform. Again, we have a preset recommended there for you. You can always go ahead and select different data points. You can either search by them here or select them within the drop-down folders to add them to your data column set. And this is arranged basically top to bottom, which is left to right here. And we can add yield if we'd like to. You can see it updates automatically here. We can drag and drop this around if we'd like to reorganize. And we can also X things out just like that to update our data column set. So basically you want to take a little bit of time, go to your recommended set and adjust that to your liking. And that will be your data column set that's assigned to any new screen or any new watch list that you create. However, in Deepvue, you can always go ahead and create multiple data column sets, and we do have some presets there for you. For instance, we've got a pre and post market data column set that is helpful for identifying gap ups and gap downs because it highlights the pre and post market data points that we have in the platform. But basically my point is you can go ahead and create multiple data column set. So say you have a screen that is, or a watch list that's only ETFs, and you have a specific data points that you want to look at every time you bring up that watch list. You can go ahead and create a data column set specifically for that list. And then when you bring up that list, you assign the data column set that you want to that by, again, going to the gear icon, selecting it from the menu. And then every time you bring up that list or screen, Deepvue will remember the last data column set that you loaded. So it will always load the one you want, basically. And you can always go up here and adjust it back to whatever you would like to. So that's a huge benefit of the data column set. How I like to use these are great for sorting during the day. So say you want to sort by the stocks that are up the most on the day. Maybe it's the morning, you want to see how things are doing. You can click the header once to sort highest to lowest, click it again to sort lowest to highest, and click it again to clear your sorting. You can also do a multi-sort. So say you want to basically, and we'll X out software here. Say you want to sort by the industry. Now you've got all the stocks aligned within the industry they're in. And then you want to use a secondary sort to sort within an industry the strongest stocks. So the strongest stocks within the past month, that's absolute strength 1 month rating. Now, within the industry that's sorted, you can see the stocks within that industry are sorted by the secondary data point, absolute strength 1 month. So this multi-sort capability is really helpful in doing top-down analysis again, and just basically breaking things down in a better, more manageable way as you're reviewing trade ideas and also looking to judge the health and strength of the market. If you notice that all your banks are RS 95 and above, they're really strong. If you notice that biotech, all of them are 50 and below, that also tells you something about the health of the market. To clear a sort, you can basically go ahead here and click this icon right there, and it resets to basically being sorted alphabetically. I personally, during the day, love to sort by relative volume. So the run rate here, this tells me what's moving on big volume. You can see SHOP was at earnings gap today. SE also was an earnings gap. So I like to sort by that during the morning to identify breakouts. And I also like to sort by relative measured volatility. If we do lowest to highest, this allows you to find tight stocks just like this in one click, and really helps you identify tight areas that you can trade by. 0 is very, very tight. 100 is price expansion. So there's a quick way to identify tight areas. And then of course you have to consider the overall context and what the stock is doing. So that's a brief run through of the screener module when it comes, and this kind of is shared in the watchlist module in all of Deepvue, but we've got the data column set, chart, data panel, and stats table. I'll pause here for a second, and then we'll get into a little bit of screening before moving on to the dashboard. So let's see if there's any questions here. Can you create a data column set that shows the industry rank of the stock? Yes. So basically all you have to do is add the industry rank, industry rank data point. So you would go ahead, edit the gear icon, type in rank, and you'll see sector rank, industry rank, group rank, whatever you want, sub-industry rank if you really want to get granular, and you would add that to your data column set. We'll go ahead and add, let's do the industry rank. Let's do some industry rank, 6-month basis. Did I check that? There we go. I need glasses, unfortunately. So that's now added to this data column set. If we X out and go down here, you can see this data point is here, and you can click this drop-down menu and see the industry ranks right there here. This is scrollable. Again, you can click all of these to dive deeper into that group. So hopefully that answers your question. There we go. All right. And short interest data points, fund ownership, margins, all of that is coming in an update that should be here within the next few weeks. All right. RS ranks, we have relative strength, which is weighted, similar to the classic CAN-SLIM way of doing things. And we also have absolute strength rating, which is unweighted. So either can work, but you can basically search for those both within our data points, and anything that is over here is available to also use in the data panel as well as a screener filter. So let's actually get into screener filters. Again, if you don't want to use a preset like Deepvue Leaders, which I think is a great place to start, you can go ahead and create your your own screens. So to do that, you of course click the new screen button. And then what you want to do is within the this module here, this pop-out window, you want to go ahead and choose the filters that you want to include, the filter data points that you want to include within the screen. So let's go ahead and create a basic screen here. Let's say we want price to be over $5. So let's type in last, actually price. You click that, it brings you right to the data point. And let's say we want that to be greater. You have a choice often between greater, less, or a range, but we want it to be greater than $20. So let's go ahead and click add. And now here it is. You can start to see your screen being created. You can see the number of results that are left. And we also, let's say, want the average dollar volume. So let's type in dollar volume 20 day. And let's go ahead and find that. So let's do dollar volume here. We want that greater than, let's say, 40 million a day. We'll add that back. So already we're breaking down our universe. You're seeing a lot of stocks being filtered out, and we've basically got our mandatory criteria here in group one. So that's pretty much all. If you're used to classic screening, basically all you want to do is go ahead and find different data points. Let's say EPS growth. Let's type in and let's find reported growth latest quarter. Let's say greater than 40%. So if you're used to classic screening, this is all you have to do. Just add everything to group one, and every single condition must be met for a stock to pass through and show up in the results here that you can sort by using any of your data columns. But in Deepvue, we do have advanced functionality if you would like to use it to add an OR group. So basically what this is a separate group apart from group one, which allows you to combine multiple screens and things you're looking for all in one to save you time and just be a little bit more efficient. So for instance, a lot of people within their screens have a screen that looks for earnings growth and then a separate screen that looks for sales growth. With an OR group, you can add both earnings growth criteria and a sales growth criteria within that group. And then if either of those data points, if either or of them are true, so if 25% growth in terms of earnings is higher than that, or sales growth is greater than 25%, then the stock will pass through that screen. So what I mean by that is right now we've got earnings growth in group one. If we go ahead and X that out and add an OR group by clicking this button here and click in that group, now if we do reported growth greater than 40%, you can see we have the same thing and we have this number of results. But say we're looking for earnings growth or sales growth, we can now type in sales growth here. Go over to latest quarter as well. Also type in 40%, and we're in group one, so this is going to add to that group. Now the number of results actually increased, and that's because this scan is looking for either earnings growth greater than 40% or sales growth is greater than 40%. If you added another data point, it would unlock additional possibilities for a stock to pass through and meet the criteria, because within an OR group, only one data point needs to be correct for group one to be true and for the stock to pass. And then if it passes all the criteria in group one, then the stock will pass through and show up on the results. So this advanced functionality, we call it advanced logic, really unlocks a lot of possibilities when it comes to building screens. And if we go ahead and save this screen by just naming this tutorial November 12th, you can add a folder, add a description if you'd like to. If we go back and load the Deepvue Leaders screen, the reason that this screen is so good and is able to really identify the momentum leaders is because if you look in the criteria, there's a lot of OR groups that I use to create this, and it gets pretty complex. It really allows you to expand your flexibility if you'd like to, be very creative, and really identify exactly what you want from a screen. For instance, say you like either a stock having an upside reversal or an inside day. You could go ahead and go to the technical screens, go to the technical patterns, and add either of those data points within an OR group, and then stocks that have either an inside day or an upside reversal would both show up under the results. And it just unlocks a lot of possibilities when it comes to creating a screen that just makes it faster, easier, better, and that's what Deepvue is all about. So that is the Deepvue Leader screen. Again, whenever you want to change a screen or load something different, you want to click this drop-down menu, and then you can basically select it from your save screens or screener presets, whatever you'd like. And you can always go ahead and edit your filters if you would like to. You can't edit presets because they are presets. They're kind of templates they're for you. But if you want to use the Deepvue Leader screen but tweak one of the criteria, you can navigate over to that in the menu, click these three dots, and you can see this menu that pops up. You can duplicate it, and then you're able to edit it, and it will show up as a copy within your own saved screens, or you can move it to a new folder, edit it, rename it. Basically, clicking these three dots here allows you to unlock your possibilities. Also, if you've made a screen that you really like, you can go ahead and click the three dots and click share. And this basically copies a link that then you could send to a friend, share on Twitter, and then if they click that link and open up their Deepvue, there'll actually be a confirmation message that asks, do you want to load this screen? They can say yes, and then right then and there, they've got that screen that you've created with all the filters there that they can just go ahead and save and use. So it's a really cool way to share your ideas, share your process, share your system, all of that. So that is the screener module. Let's go ahead and see if there's any questions about this here. Can we screen within a preset like Deepvue Leaders to narrow down the number of stocks to 3 or 4? What you would do, Mark, is basically open up the leader screen, make it, duplicate it so it's got your own version, and you would go ahead and click in group 1 and then add whatever criteria you would like to further filter down that screen in terms of what you're looking for. You can also, of course, just load the Deepvue Leader screen, and if you're focused on stocks that are Deepvue Leaders but are the tightest, you would basically sort by relative measured volatility, and that's a way to filter it down within a screen. We'll also be introducing combo lists, which allow you to combine screens and screen within a screen and screen within a watch list later on within the next few weeks. You can be on the lookout for that. But good question. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if there's any questions here. And if you have any questions about screens or they seem to be locked or you can't edit them, shoot us a message at hello@deepvue.com and we'll sort you out. And we can really help you get to exactly what you want to do. What is the name of that first column in your Deepvue Leader screen? This is relative measured volatility. It's basically a measure of how tight a stock is. And this is also an indicator as well, but it's really cool to be able to screen and sort by that. Alerts are delivered through the mobile app, or they also show up as pop-ups here. They'll pop up right here, and you'll also be able to see them in your alerts manager. Absolute strength is unweighted, relative strength is weighted. So that's kind of the main difference. The use case for them is pretty much exactly the same thing. All right. And if there's a difference between our platform's results and another platform's, it could just be the database that they're screening on. We're very confident in our data. We have very high quality data sources, and we're confident in our methodology. We have noticed on other platforms, data points aren't updated as regularly as our refresh cycles are. So you can go ahead and check out different criteria and see where the differences are, but we're very confident in our process and our system here with Deepvue. All right, so let's see. Let's go ahead over to the dashboard because somebody did have a question about bubble charts. So very quickly, the dashboard is an awesome module in Deepvue. It's one of the best key features that we've got. And basically what it allows you to do is completely make everything modular. If you have a chart app or a watchlist app, you can drag and drop them and rearrange them and really create your ideal trading dashboard. So let's go ahead and name this tutorial, this new dashboard tutorial, November 12th. Let's go ahead and click save. And you can see you've got this blank grid to start out with. And basically what you want to do is click add apps, and you see this menu pop out. And here you've got all the apps that are available to you in Deepvue. We'll be adding more to these. We've got chart modules, screener, watch list, data panel, stats table, position sizing calculator, performance charts, heat maps, bubble charts. All of these are available to be drag and dropped, and they all can be linked to each other. So to show you exactly what I mean, we can basically click and drag a chart app over here to the left-hand side. It's loaded up. There you go. And then we can also drag in a screener module, and that's ready to go. We can also, of course, click the drop-down menu, go over to screener presets to load up the Deepvue Leaders list. And now we've got the Deepvue Leaders screen linked to this screener module. You can go ahead and see that this is within the group 1. So basically what that means is this is group 1. This chart is also group 1. So clicking within this group, and space barring through the different stocks changes the chart because these two are linked. You could have a list or a screener linked to this chart, have a whole other chart and a whole nother list that are, instead of being on group 1, are in group 5. So this really allows you to get creative, create many different complex dashboards, whatever suits kind of your specific use case for that. Now, I did have a question. There was a question about, and basically you can drag and drop these around and resize them by clicking the corners. That's how I'm dragging this around. There was a question about the bubble charts. So this is a really cool feature that basically allows you to plot your watch list, your screen, a screen preset, a watch list preset, and see it broken down visually in terms of 3 different data points. One data point controls the x-axis, another data point controls the y-axis, and then a third data point controls the size of the bubbles. So there's basically a way to see the markets visually and screen the markets visually and identify outliers based on these 2 data points. And my favorite configuration is price percent change from the open. I like setting this to run rate. And I also like setting the third data point, which controls the size of the bubble, also by run rate. So run rate's controlling both the y-axis as well as the size of the bubble. And then what I like to do is set this over to Deepvue Leaders. And then right away, the strongest stocks that are moving on the biggest volume will be, in the upper right-hand corner. You can also click Shift, drag this, and resize things. So if you want to focus on this area, you can resize things. You can reset by clicking this refresh icon. But this really helps you identify outliers in the moment. So a great thing about these bubble charts is they refresh and update in real time. So as the stock is breaking out, if you think about what's happening in terms of these 2 data points, run rate and price percent change from the open, run rate will be enormous because institutions are buying it, and volume compared to normal is much higher than normal. So the stock will basically be high up on the y-axis. Then it will be gaining nicely from the open. So it will be moving this way in terms of that data point. So the strongest breakouts will show up right in the morning, here in the top right. And what's great is you can identify group themes using this, because if coin, MSTR, Mara are all, in the top right, that tells you something about that theme in the moment on that day. And it helps you identify themes early, what was strongest, as well as if stuff is in the bottom right and group together, what was weakest. So that's the bubble charts, and hopefully that helps answer your question. But this is a really cool feature, and I've never seen another platform have this. So this is one of the key benefits of Deepvue. And to delete an app, you just want to go ahead and click the right side. We've also got performance charts, which again allow you to plot any screen watch list or screen preset and plot it versus a single data point, which is plotted in a nice bar graph for you. You can also go ahead and create a heat map, which again has 2 different customizable data points. One controls the data point, one controls the size of the data point, size of the box here. So I like setting this by price percent change from today, as well as run rate. So I see what's moving the strongest on volume. And let's go ahead and load the Deepvue Leader screen again. And there you go. Shop is standing out like a sore thumb. So like the bubble charts, it helps you identify outliers. And again, let's click square here. This chart is linked to this heat map. So you can actually click within these squares and quickly visually go through different stocks and ideas really easily without having to run a single screen. You can identify that shop was a clear outlier today. You can analyze its price action right there for you. So that's the benefit of the dashboard, is you can link all these different apps together, get really creative with these configurations, and really create an ideal trading dashboard for whatever the use case is. For instance, I've got a pre-post market movers screen. So I like seeing, what's moving after hours. So over here on the left-hand side, I've got stocks that are gapping up on earnings. Here on the right-hand side, I've got stocks that are gapping down. To view post-market price action, you want to navigate to intraday time frame. Is to go to a 5-minute chart, right-click on your screen, go to settings, and change the session from regular trading to extended trading hours. Then you can see Rocket Lab gapping up, If we go over here, you can spacebar through, see all these gapping down. So it's really helpful to be basically able to watch post-market price action, both in terms of gainers and losers. You can see Kava is gapping up, and let's actually, that's a good use case. So here, over here, you can see when earnings are coming up. When they're very close, you'll see a red flag here. So this showed up a few days ago. You can hover over that to see when the earnings date is. And let's go back to our screener tab and search here for Kava. And now you can see, let's move this away. If we hover over the earnings from today, you can see what was reported. You can see EPS surprise was 36%. That's why, we're gapping up, because it beat expectations. And you can also see that same thing in terms of revenue. So that's kind of a very cool way that you can analyze earnings in Deepvue. Is one, we've got all these built-in features because we're traders. We know what we want. We want to be warned when earnings are coming up. That's why we've got this flag that comes up. Then you can analyze in basically real time when it's reported. The key metrics, earnings and sales, right here for you. Hover over it to see the earnings surprise, and then you can watch the post-market price action and also navigate to a dashboard to analyze the whole market as a whole, to see all the earnings gap ups and losers as well, all in one dashboard. But that's kind of my pre-post market dashboard. I'll be adding a lot of these to the data panel or the dashboard presets. So there's already a lot there for you. But I'll be adding multiple ones here as well. So these can kind of get you started. If you want a quick bubble chart one, go ahead and open this up. Or if you want to edit it, just like the screens, you want to go ahead and click these three dots, click duplicate, and then that creates your own individual version. But that's basically my pre-post market dashboard. I'll go over the main ones. I've got a market monitor dashboard that has different watch lists that I've made with the index ETFs, the liquid mega caps, the theme ETFs, and a performance chart. I've got my kind of breadth setup which I use to analyze Deepvue net new highs, new lows, stocks above the 40 SMA on the NYSE. So this is kind of all pre-made. So in one click, I can have my deal configuration for analyzing the markets. Then I've got a setup that analyzes performance charts of thematic ETFs, again, to identify rotation, all of that. I've got a heat map setup that, if we go back to a daily chart, again, I like to use this to just go ahead and analyze stocks in the moment. Then I've got group ranks, which allows me to, again, identify rotation by looking at all the different industry, sub-industry, sector, and group ranks on different time frames: daily, weekly, monthly, and 3-month. I've got a bubble charts configuration. I've got a 2 data panel preset. So I've got my main data panel, then a secondary one with kind of key actionable information. So this just kind of shows the creativity that you can get into when it comes to the dashboard. And I'd really encourage you guys to go ahead and mess with this, see what you can come up with, and really just have fun with creating your own ideal trading dashboard. And to bring up that apps list, by the way, if you're not starting fresh, you want to go ahead and click this icon, and that brings up all the different apps. And you can see I can't drag anything more because there's not any open space on my dashboard. So if you do see them highlighted in red here, or with this icon that shows up, it basically means that you need to create enough space to add these apps into your screen. But once you create enough space, there'll no longer be that red outline, and you can click and drag into that open space. Boofinder says, I started using bubble charts after the last webinar. It is an amazing feature. Completely agree. Thank you. I created it. Thank you very much. Really glad you find it helpful. That's the whole point of this, is we want to create features that are useful to you, that help you save you time, help you find the leaders and outliers faster. That's what Deepvue is all about. All right, let's see. So that's mostly what I wanted to go through today, but I will spend a little bit of time going through maybe some key indicators that I like to use. So let's go ahead and load up this. So first of all, the relative strength line, really key for identifying phases where a stock is outperforming the market. You can see Upwork had a nice gap up and continuation up. It started a relative strength phase right here as it moved above the signal line here, the moving average. And basically the relative strength line plots the performance of the stock versus the performance of a different symbol that you choose. So if we go into the settings here, you can choose what stock to base the relative strength line on and compare it to. And when it's moving up like this, it means it's outperforming the SPY, which is why it's in this nice arse phase. That's often when we want to be focused on a stock, is when it's outperforming and just starting a relative strength phase. We've all, of course, got volume here, key moving averages. I want to highlight relative measured volatility. I've got an entire webinar dedicated to that, which you can search on YouTube, RMV, relative measured volatility. But what this basically plots is whenever a stock goes tight like this, RMV will go to 0. And often this is a really good spot to be looking for an entry, whether you're looking to buy a breakout from that tight area or looking to buy an undercut and reclaim of that range, and that's your entry. Anyway, this tight area can help you spot good spots where you can manage risk tightly and get onto a stock that's showing strong relative strength, that's outperforming, is in a strong overall setup. When you can identify these tight areas, it just helps you enter, more carefully, where you can manage risk and where you can benefit from expansions up from these contractions. So that's the benefit of RMV. And again, I've got an entire webinar dedicated to that. So definitely search Deepvue YouTube for that, and definitely watch that webinar. I highly recommend it. And this is one of the key features of Deepvue, is that you're able to analyze stocks, look quickly, and identify tight areas, and also screen by this, because not only can you use this to analyze a stock in the moment, but you can screen and sort by that data point. And that's what I like to do. Say you want to find stocks that potentially, move nicely the next day. You look for RMV to be 0 or under 10, and then look for a strong overall setup and chart context within, and then that tight area within that context to find a strong candidate for a nice breakout the next day. For instance, if we look at Mara, this had a RMV 0 right here. That's how it showed up on my screens. That's how I was watching the stock. And the next day we had a strong gap and go. If we bring up app, way back here, RMV went right to 0, right on this bar. That's why it was on my radar. And then when we get expansion up, breakout, and a huge move that's had so far, and continuation. But it all starts from a nice tight area within a nice setup, which was right near the top of a nice 3-month, 4-month base. So this tight area, you always want to consider the overall setup, the overall stock, the growth numbers. You want to stack as many edges in your favor. This tight area is not enough. You want to find a tight area within a good stock, a strong stock that's already showing something special. So that's a quick thing on RMV. And again, watch the full webinar if you haven't already. Let's see here. Yeah, thank you, Alistair. He says, well done. This platform is amazing. Glad to hear that. We're trying to improve it every single day, add more data points, add as many features as you guys request. And that's a big thing. It's so helpful to us when you guys request features. Give us feedback. If you don't like something, say something, let us know. Reach out to us via hello@deepvue.com or the support module, because we'll take your feedback and really incorporate it, take it to heart, and improve Deepvue. This will be a continuous process where over the next 5-10 years, we'll be incorporating features, indicators, data points that you want to see, and just making it better and better every single week, every single quarter, every single year. So that's what's really cool about Deepvue, is we're in a nice growth expansion phase, and we always want to make it the best platform for you guys. So we really take all your feedback and everything to heart, and try to incorporate it to make Deepvue better suited for your specific use case. All right. Answer that live. All right. There's a question about setting up earnings and sales so it looks vertical. So what you can do is set it up in your data panel. So you'd go ahead, make a category that's earnings, and add those different data points stacked vertically. The stats table shows it horizontally, which I prefer because you can scroll back in time nicely, see the estimates, and see it's very compact here. But if you want it vertically, you can go ahead and do it just like that. And yeah, then it's nice there for you. But it all depends on kind of personal preference. But this is how to set it up. I've got earnings 4 quarters, 3 quarters, 2 quarters, latest quarter, the surprise, the rating, and then the growth expectation for the next quarter, the estimate, which is always good to see. And App is just a monster stock that is growing incredibly fast, and that's why the price action is as strong, as it was driven by the strong growth and growth expectations. You can actually see the estimate revisions are all up here, which is why it continues to follow through despite being short-term extended. We'll see what happens with the stock, but definitely a model book move over the past year, year and a half, 2 years. What would be a good example of a daily routine for swing trading using Deepvue? That's a great question. I love that. So let's go ahead and reset. Let's say that it's 4:05 p.m. The market action is done. Basically what I do is I go ahead and go to Deepvue Leaders screen. So I'd navigate over to Screener Presets, Deepvue Leaders. And then the first thing I do is I go ahead and sort by percent change today, go to the top and spacebar through and look at the biggest movers of the day, look at what groups they were in, look at where they came from, what type of setup was it, what type of setup it was, whether it was an earnings gap, a breakout, and I make note of any particularly strong names that could be actionable, a week later, a few days later, if there's a tight area that forms. So that's kind of the first step. I look at the biggest movers of the day. I also take a look at the weakest stocks of the day. What did they look like? What happened with them? And then I kind of take note of any stocks I might want to keep watching, add to my wider focus list. Then what I do is I go ahead and sort by RMV, go over to the top, sort lowest to highest. And then again, I'm spacebarring through looking for potential setups. For instance, Fresh was on my watch list because we had a nice gap up, tight area that formed, and then this could have a breakout through these highs. So that's why I want it on my watch list. Basically it's forming a tight area where you can manage risk easily. And we'll see if we get continuation up from this strong push higher on earnings. But basically I'd spacebar through, see where these tight areas are in context of the overall chart. So some of these are like UAL are just kind of within a trend. It's very extended. It's not really near a fresh setup. So that's why I'm kind of ignoring them. And then, this one is in a little bit of a consolidation, but it's a little bit choppy. We had a gap down, so I ignore that one. Shake Shack just trending, App, post gap. So I'm just kind of looking and trying to find those tight areas in context. So this one, Lope already had an earnings gap. It's got basically 2 inside days, 2 tight days. So this could be actionable for a swing trade through these highs or a short entry through these lows. So that might go on my radar. But that's kind of my process. First, I look for big movers. Then I look for tight areas. And then I'm just kind of spacebarring through the Deepvue Leader screen and looking for setups that meet my criteria. But that's a really good question. And thanks for asking it. Oh, there was one question that we actually haven't answered. So how do you find the anchor VWAP? So you can see that on my favorite drawings list, I actually have it here. And that way I can quickly use that tool if I would like to. But if you don't have it, to access the drawing tools, you want to click this right here. And then you've got all your trend lines that you can ask for. You've got your Fibonacci here that you can ask for. You've got these right here. There's too many that I don't even use. But the anchored VWAP is basically under projection, so the 4th option. And then you would click that. And to favorite it, so it shows up in a toolbar, a floating toolbar like I have, you would want to basically click this favorite icon. But you basically can click that right there and access that indicator just like that. So that hopefully that answers your question. All right. Can you please show your pre and post market dashboard again? For sure. All right. So basically how I have it set up is I added in a chart element. Then I added in a screener element here to the left, a screener element to the right. Then from this, in this screener element, I click to the drop-down menu to a earnings gap up screen that I have created. We also have a pre-post market preset that you could use right here. And then in this one, I loaded a gap down screen that I had created. So you basically add a chart element, 2 screener options, and then select the type of screen that you want here, and then link them to the same chart, the same group. So basically you can access the chart on both, the gap ups as well as the gap downs. And again, you want to change to an intraday time frame to watch the post-market price action of these names. right. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for tuning in. All right, I think that pretty much. Yeah, I can share those. I can make those presets, the gap ups and gap downs. That's no problem. Are you competing in the USIC championship next year? I'm thinking about it. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm pretty busy with Deepvue stuff and making tutorials and videos. So I'd really have to kind of prioritize the championship for sure. But I'm definitely thinking about it. Let's see here. Any other questions? Please drop them in the chat, guys, or in the Q&A if you have them. All right. I don't see any other questions coming through. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Let me know in the chat if you have any last thoughts here. But hopefully this was able to quick start your process in a Deepvue. And on behalf of the founding team, I want to thank you guys for choosing Deepvue, for trying us out. Please reach out if you have any questions, feedback, thoughts, especially if you run into any issues. We're here to help. We want you to have a lot of success with the platform. And we've heard from many different users that, it helps save them a lot of time and helps them trade more effectively and better. So hopefully it'll be the same for you guys. But thank you guys all for tuning in and spending some time learning the platform here with me. And best of luck with Deepvue, with your trading, all of that. And I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care. Bye.